welcome to Unsigned 518. I'm here with Architrave. How's it going?
Good.
Great. Thank you for having us back.
Yeah, and we were saying before we got rolling, if anybody wants to hear the origin story, they can go back and listen to the first episode that we did, because now we're moving on with what's been happening basically since the last time you were on the show. And I probably should have researched what episode number it was, but whatever, people can
Google
scroll.
Architrave and Unsigned 518.
It will absolutely show up.
Yeah.
But so I guess what's been going on in the last year and a half, 2 years?
Well, we just put out our fourth album. I guess that's kind of a lot of albums since 2020.
Yeah.
We really just keep pumping them out. But this
almost one a year, but not quite.
Yeah.
So
this is our fourth one, and we're going to be doing a little sort of touring as we do, just like one day here, one day there this summer. I'm trying to get it heard, get it around the Northeast at any rate. And we're really excited about this one.
And when you say like the tour, is that something you're just booking yourself?
Yeah.
And how far does it go?
it's usually just weekenders. This actually has our furthest shows are coming up in the next 2 months. We're playing
Richmond,
Virginia,
Oh, wow. Nice.
and Pittsburgh. So
And how is that like, to go that far away from home to play shows? Like, because I get nervous playing shows where I'm like, I can look out and be like, I know 20 people in the audience. Like,
I
how
love
is
it. I love the best part to me is playing with these other artists and meeting them and getting to hear their music and getting to know. We've met so many amazing people just on these sort of like, a few hours away kind of gigs. Finding like-minded people who makes music with synthesizers and electronic beats. There's not much of that happening here, to be honest. And so like really having to like reach out to network to find other people who are making music that's sort of aligned with what we're doing is it's challenging, but like finding them is such a rewarding thing. They're
Right.
such wonderful people usually, and it's just great to connect about the art, and then we all sort of like help each other find shows with other people who are in that same kind of network, and it's just kind of an awesome community that's sort of loose but small around the Northeast. I think that we're finding who are making sort of synth-based music, and I love it.
And when I think of, I'm not someone who has like a electronic music background, but like, when you say synth or electronic, like what you guys are putting out is not what I would expect when I hear electronic, because I almost don't even think of it as electronic music, if that makes sense. It's
You're
just
right.
fantastic music.
We're kind of getting more comfortable. I think one thing that's been happening with us recently is we're really leaning into the fact that we are kind of genreless.
Yeah.
We are coming from a bunch of different kinds of music, and it's all still there. Like, I'm a DJ. I've been making electronic music, DJing electronic music for decades. So that's in there. We're both coming from like new wave 80s stuff because we're old and we were there for the
Same.
and both liked that stuff. And then Paul was in all kinds of indie rock bands, so there's definitely the guitar bass element, live, kind of a live organic analog element that's also there. So I think we're not trying to pigeonhole ourselves into any particular genre. That might have been, I don't know if that was ever a goal for us. Really.
no, I don't think that was.
But it's becoming apparent that that's just going to be what we are.
Right.
So what's cool is that means we can hang on all kinds of bills, and it'll make sense, maybe, sort of, but it means that we get to meet all kinds of different bands, play with all different kinds of bands, and be sort of an element to any bill that's kind of interesting, because we're not really aligned with any of it. We get on a lot of goth bills. And I don't think we're particularly goth, but it seems to work.
But it works. Like, as soon as you said that, like, like, no,
This
that
year
works. That could work.
we don't dress up though.
You
No,
should. You should. Yeah.
I mean, once in a while.
Well, I mean, we try and present ourselves well, but we're not loading on the makeup and stuff,
Black
so.
fingernail polish and corpse paint.
No,
But this year we've played several events that were sort of modular synth showcases, where it was, mostly about sort of noise or improvisational electronic stuff. that would feature like one synth pop kind of act, and we got to be that for a couple of shows. I love that kind of stuff. Like, I really love that there's this range where we're playing with these kind of like really arty kind of shows, all the way to, you know, goth nights around,
Right.
you know, and
Yeah, because the one that she's talking about, we played at the Clark Art Museum, which was fantastic.
oh my gosh, that was
So
absolutely amazing.
Yeah, because like again, it's just like my personal whatever, but like a lot of the times when I think of electronic music, I think of something that kind of repeats a lot,
Yeah.
and I
like
don't.
a Philip Glass type thing.
Yeah,
Or like
or
techno.
even like a
Yeah.
techno, but yeah, a
Yep.
Philip Glass thing, you know, something that like lulls you in with this repeating thing.
No, we write songs.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely
Like they're
songs.
songs, and which is why I say, you know, because I have a 518 playlist that I listen to all the time, and it's not like I'm like, oh, here's an electronic song. You know,
Yeah.
it just fits right in with everything, which is
Which is
unique,
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's totally.
I think the
totally
electronic
cool.
element with us is like we program the beats,
Right.
you know, and electronic instrumentation like
Yeah.
synthesizers. But you're right, it's not electronic as a genre. You're
Right.
correct. Absolutely.
There are electronic elements, I guess, but it's certainly, I mean, in my opinion, it's very songwriter centric.
Like for the Eddies, the first time we were nominated for an Eddie, it was electronic was the category.
I think so. Yeah.
And then they moved us to alt indie the next year, and I actually do think that that is more
Yeah.
appropriate for us.
And again, I think it's kind of optics, you know, because a lot of people are probably like me, where when they hear electronic music, they're thinking techno or
yeah,
whatever.
it is more specific than maybe we would like to think.
And I mean, I think that how we actually play with just the two of us, and we are using a lot of electronics to do what we do, but you know, if we had unlimited budget and whatever, like we could easily have a full band.
Oh, for sure. We just don't because it's too convenient for us to be able to work just together, you know, and steal a few minutes to practice or whatever.
Right.
And touring is so easy with the two of us.
Yeah, because I mean, we're just like, do you check the calendar? Yeah, we can do it. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
You know,
That's gotta
you
be
you
very-
probably know the struggle of having a band. So
Yeah, I mean, we've got 5 of us, so
Yeah,
it's-
that's
and,
hard.
We've had-
and 3 of them have teenagers, so
Yeah.
it's like
Yep.
it's very tough, especially like in the summer when like
yeah, with Haley Moly we had 5, and you know, Haley Moly is just kind of on hiatus because
Okay.
there's a lot of new babies. So
Yeah. And we could never really tour with them. It was just
No.
it's like herding cats when you have that many people.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah, and I mean, even if everybody wants to do it, like it's so many people. You know,
Logistics.
if you're in this game, you have stuff to do,
yep.
and then you also have a life outside of the music thing. Like it's so hard to like. And I'm kind of in the position where, you know, we don't have kids or whatever, so I'm always the one that's like, yeah, I can do it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
but it's like.
You need a solo act.
Yeah, I'll just get up there and play like my bass.
There
and
you
not,
go.
Yep. We have kids that are now driving, so it's the game has changed for us a little bit.
So you have roadies now.
Oh, no.
I hadn't thought of it that way.
Well, I guess last night counts, but that wasn't an Architrave show.
Yeah. Sonia has played. Our kids have contributed saxophone to some of our recordings
Oh,
and
no
live
way.
performances.
Yeah.
But their interests are diverging,
Gotcha.
to put it mildly. They're not into what we do.
Mom and dad aren't cool anymore. Or,
Yeah. How do you rebel against parents who do this kind of
Right.
music? You focus on classical and jazz. That's what Sonia
Okay.
does. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had a friend in high school. His parents were, you know, the coolest people that we knew. You know, they were like, they rode Harleys. They were like really, and he was very studious and very preppy,
Yeah.
and that was his way of rebelling.
Yep.
He was like, I'm going to rebel by following every rule. You know?
Yeah, it just goes back and forth,
Yeah.
generation to generation. Probably their kids will be wild rock and rollers.
Right? It just bounces back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So I do want to talk about the new album, but I think before we get into it, one thing that I was thinking, like as this conversation was coming up, I was kind of wondering, like how you write the song, like, you know, how do you approach the songwriting? Like, is it something that comes as like an idea in your head and it starts small? Do you both sit down together? Like, I guess a little insight into that.
I think it can vary. For the most part, I would say it is all Jen. there are times where I have like been playing in the back, building a beat or something, and she's like, "Can I use that?" And I'm like, "Okay." And then there's other times where,
Or you'll do like a bass riff, and I'll be like, "Hold that thought," you know.
yeah,
But mostly it's me writing stuff first, and then bringing it to Paul for him to elaborate on with the bass.
yeah. I guess I have a lot of my own other projects, so
Yeah, this one is mainly where everybody has to humor me and my vision.
I'm everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
But it's, when you say an idea, like once it becomes that idea, do you both kind of attack that one song, or do you throw out an idea, give a little idea, and then put it on the back burner until you revisit it? Like,
I guess it's different from song to song. Mostly I will mock the whole thing up with beats and get everything into Logic and even down to the vocals and everything. But probably along that way you're adding to it with the bass.
yeah.
I don't know.
I think if of anybody I've ever known and worked with musically, Jen has the Brian Wilson thing going on, where she can like picture exactly what she wants
Right.
it to sound like.
Like the composition's already there.
Yeah, the
yeah.
whole thing kind of comes to me all at once.
Wow.
It might start with like I'll hear a vocal melody or like a little snippet of something, but from that it all kind of rushes in and I can hear the whole thing. And then, this band has been kind of a revelation for me because this is the first context where I've been able to like actually make things sound exactly how I picture it. Because I have all the resources. Paul has been really instrumental in helping me facilitating that in the sense of like he has a lot of technical knowledge about how to like make things happen electronically or
Recording.
like recording and what we need to make a certain thing happen. I can describe it and he'll be like, we need this machine or we need to do this or and like from there suddenly I have a new tool in my palette
Right.
that I can make it. And so now I can basically picture something and it's out in the world.
That's cool because like I can, a lot of the times I'll hear like a song in my head that I'll be like, ooh, I can hear a whole song in my head, but it's like I don't know how to pick it apart and like translate it and get it out. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it just
The reason
they're always there for such a small time.
Yeah. I mean, the reason this happened so late in life for me is because when I started out getting interested in music, I mean, I've always been interested in music. I've always sung. But my thing that I would do as a young person was I had an acoustic guitar. And I would do like coffee shop stuff and sing and play the acoustic guitar. And it did not sound how I wanted it. I was picturing big, panoramic, cinematic, synthesizer drenched, bassy, songs that had atmosphere, and I couldn't do it with an electric guitar. And I was like, oh, how do I do this? And it didn't occur to me to just get a band together or like try to get the right instruments. So I just started DJing and just abandoned it. And so now when I met Paul and came together with him, he was like, oh, we can do this, we can make these songs sound the way you want them to. And we started with Haley Moly and definitely got somewhere.
Yeah.
But the very specific things that I want to hear are coming out in Architrave. So
That's really cool.
it took a long time, but we're doing it.
Awesome. Well, do we want to play a song?
Yeah,
Sure.
definitely.
Which one were we going to play first?
Well, we just put a video out for a song called Parthenogenesis, which is kind of slightly different from what we normally do. It has like a vocoder effect, and it's kind of minimal in terms of lyrics, and it's more sort of EBM dancey, like industrial almost. I don't know if
Yeah.
I mean, like everything else with us, it's not really that categorizable,
Right.
but those are some elements of it. And it's kind of funny because the only lyrics are Parthenogenesis, be your own man, somebody's got to do it. And so it sort of came out of the idea of parthenogenesis as a scientific thing, but then the idea that that's almost like a feminist thing, like drawing a feminist thing from it. Like, wouldn't it be great if you could just do it yourself and didn't need any help? And, what would the world be like? So we put out a real sort of absurdist video that's out there on YouTube now. sort of drawing on that idea. It's a really funny video to me. And
Your videos were always awesome.
yeah, I love making videos.
Me too.
But anyway, so that's the newest thing that's happening from the album, and that might be the best one to play.
Cool. All right, well, let's listen to Parthenogenesis. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. From Architrave, and then we'll be right back. That was Parthenogenesis, Architrave, and that one is on the new album. So I guess I would love to hear more about the new album. Although, I mean, I actually have heard it.
Yes.
I reviewed it.
Yeah, it was a great review. We really appreciated you really actually listening and commenting on individual songs. That was a real treat to read. So thank you.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great, and it's just really cool being able to get my first impression of an album out, especially from bands that I know that I have a history of liking. So I was really excited to be able to review that one.
Thank you. Well, like all our albums, this one is coming out of probably a lot of anxiety about the world So the political climate
real.
and
Yeah.
and just general decay of society. So there's a lot of anxiety in the album, but a lot of like searching for,
Hope.
hope and positivity in the world. So like there's a song about AI and how scary it is. And then a key song that we already did put out was called Seen Enough. And that one was about, like, wow, I just want to check out. I don't like this anymore, but I really should try to be grateful for the one life I've been given. And how can I balance these two feelings that I have just totally had it with this planet but I should really just like enjoy my life, and so that's what that song was about. And I think that's kind of the vibe of the whole album is like, screw this, but I love being here, like it's
I feel both of those things like multiple times every single day.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder if that's middle age, and sometimes I wonder if it's just now.
There is a lot about middle age in the album because here we are.
Yeah, it's a weird.
I would say Cruel Tsunami is the key song about being middle-aged for probably reasons that should remain mysterious, but I'm going to say that is. But like, but the name of the album, Panic Joy, came from a key moment last year when the solar eclipse happened. We drove to be in totality to experience it. I didn't care about it at all, but our kids were like, let's go. So we went. And I can't even tell you how shook I was by the solar eclipse. Like, it freaked me out to my core just looking up at that. It was so insanely significant for me, and it really did turn out to be a moment like that sort of reaffirmed my interest in living. Like, I just was like, I can still experience this level of like absolute awe for life and just like the universe and everything,
Right.
And it had been, a tough year. I mean, it's been a tough life and for everybody. And to have a moment like that every once in a while where you're just like focused on something that's truly amazing is important. And it's really important to like focus on those moments and be affected by them and like put them back out through art. And so that's what I think I was hoping to do with this title, with this album, is like the song that's called Panic Joy. The phrase Panic Joy came to me that day as like the only way I could describe what I felt. It was like joy, but like, what the hell is happening? Like it was just so disconcerting and like amazing and earth-shattering. So
Yeah.
Did you catch the eclipse when it
Well, I
happened?
was literally just going to say, like, I gave you a copy of our new album, and I wrote a lyric about the eclipse.
no
Yeah.
way.
That I had a crazy middle-aged moment. My lyric is, I never thought this day would come, but here I am, still dumbfounded and staring at the sun.
Get
Oh,
out.
Because I
That's
was
beautiful.
sitting in my backyard, and after mocking the shit out of my band for caring about the eclipse, my guitarist drove to see, and I was like, you fucking nerds. Like, I'm like, this is like so dumb, like whatever. And I just happened to be home alone. And like, as it started happening, I grabbed a lawn chair and a joint, and I sat down in the middle of my lawn and smoked a joint and had the little special song and watched the eclipse and had a
Get
moment
outta
where
here.
I was
I
like,
love
this is
this.
wild that I could be, at the time I was 51. I'm like, I can be 51 years old. And so that's why, I don't know if you noticed the looks when you were saying that, I kept going, oh my God. Like,
This is
I have
amazing.
chills, like on the same day at the exact same time. Like,
Well,
So-
I mean, so many people had that. Like, we were with a lot of people.
Yeah, it was like
we
at
went
a
up
little-
to Fort Henry, and we were standing on a
Port
beach.
Henry.
Port Henry, standing on a beach with like a bazillion people
Right.
we didn't know, and like the roar of everyone just reacting.
It was like a gasp. Yeah.
yeah, because like what you're seeing, you
Everybody
think
was
of it
having this
and
primal,
yeah.
like, what the heck experience? It
yeah,
was
you feel
amazing.
so insignificant and like,
You read those stories about like how cultures way back in time would they were afraid of the eclipse and like and you don't really understand it until yeah.
and can you imagine not having any idea
Yeah.
What
is
was
going,
happening?
like what is even
Terrifying.
going on? Like
No.
the same with like earth. Like I don't know if you've ever been in an earthquake.
Yeah, just
Yeah, I have
little
felt
ones
one,
around
yeah.
here.
I was
but
out
yeah.
in L.A. for a
a real one.
for
yeah.
like a real one, and I moved home. Like I was
I cannot
so
imagine
shook.
how-
It was the most and I couldn't get it out of my head. I was like, at any moment I could just die. Like, I mean, we had like, you know, all of our dishes flying out of the cupboards and like car alarms going off, and you could hear explosions in the background.
Oh my
and like,
God.
And like you couldn't stand. Like I felt like I was like hammered drunk. Like you couldn't stand up, and I was
That must have been crazy.
yeah. And literally the next day, I began my plans to head back to Vermont because I was like, "Fuck
Done with this.
every single bit of this. That's the most terrifying thing I've ever experienced."
For
and
real.
I felt like an ant.
Yeah.
Like I was like, the earth
that's-
could just swallow you up
Oh.
and be done with you. Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
I can imagine it was the same level of like experience of just.
Well,
wow.
we had
Yeah.
the benefit of knowing that we weren't going to die with this.
Yeah, mine wasn't panic joy. Mine was panic. I was like, I hate this, and I'm going home. Like, and whenever anybody like complains about like the Northeast winters, I'm
Oh, yeah.
like, that's nothing.
What song is it on here?
It's on "Don't Sink."
Okay.
Is the name.
Now I want to like compile all the songs people have written
that
about
were
it.
written
I bet there's
at
a
that
lot.
at that particular moment. And like I said, I was just sitting in my back lawn, and I was like, oh, I get it now. And I literally
Yeah.
was like, it was
I love
it was a
it.
thing where at
Yeah.
band practice I was like, who fucking cares? It's an
Yeah.
eclipse. Whatever. It's gonna get dark. Like, stop talking about
That's
it.
exactly the attitude I had. I was like, I can't believe we're going to deal with all this
Yeah.
traffic.
And then after,
I
was like crying, going, "It's beautiful, man."
Yes.
Like,
Yeah, I had a lot of coworkers that like went a little more west and north, and like it was cloudy for them.
We got real lucky.
Yeah, we got real lucky.
Yeah. But anyway, the cover of our album is a painting by Bassam Gaitani.
Yeah.
He's a Lebanese painter, and it like went by in my Facebook feed or something, and I was like, I get a lot of art in my Facebook feed that is just random, and I was like, that painting, it's the eclipse. Like, it reminded me so much of the eclipse. It was like a perfect piece of art depicting it, but it's not like a painting of an eclipse. It's like this radiating spiral of gold against a red background. And I was like, I don't know why, but this is giving me the panic joy feeling. Like, so I wrote to this artist and I was like,
oh wow.
can I please use this on my album cover? And like, we paid him a little bit, and he really got invested and like actually really likes the record. And so that was kind of a cool connection that came out of it, to sort of get connected with this artist across the world.
That's
You know,
gonna be cool as an artist, like to
yeah,
ha-
I
you
was
know,
like,
to have
"You're-"
somebody.
I explained what the painting had evoked for me, and he loved that, and so that was kind of neat. So yeah, I'm trying to think what else I can say about that, but
No.
definitely the eclipse was like became the focal point of the album for the art and for like the song about it, and just sort of the key moment where that sort of ties you to the will to live, or to
Right.
really live, like really enjoy living,
and
like,
ties you to so many other human beings, you know,
For sure.
like, because there's very few things, like when you think about it, like you could say, like, you know, everybody witnessed one thing, but like people were witnessing this thing in real time, not looking at a screen, you know,
Yeah.
they were witnessing it together. And like,
yeah, amazing experience. There's going to be another one in Spain.
When?
I kind of want to go in a couple of years, right?
Well,
I don't know.
Maybe the kids are out of college. Maybe we can go.
there you go. That's not that's dedication, you know.
Definitely.
So, you know, the album, you know, Panic Joy out now. What other, like, I guess, what other highlights do you feel are on the album?
Well, for me, it's tough. I love all the songs.
I'm pretty invested in all of them.
I would say live, I love playing Cruel Tsunami because there's a section at the end where Jen is like manipulating the synth, and it gets kind of noisy and interesting.
Yeah, that is fun to do.
So-
We should do more of that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Paul loves to improvise.
Oh, I don't, as playing bass, I'm not going to be doing that, but
You like to have improvisation going on.
yeah, I like a nice steady like bass line something, and then craziness over top of it.
Yeah.
And when you're playing live, like, what are I know there's a lot just like going on. Like, what I guess are each of your individual duties? Like, are you doing a lot of loops, or are you?
Not, I mean, earlier on in the band I did. Now it's really just playing bass and triggering some things.
Okay.
For the most part, I think for me, it's mostly just playing bass at this point.
We have 2 synthesizers that I'm playing. We have live beats going on that we turn things on and off. We have a sampler to sort of add texture tracks.
And is that like a pad sampler?
It's a thing with 4 big buttons, and we have them programmed to play certain things on each track. It'll bring up different samples for us.
Cool.
But we have it locked in with our groove box, so that sometimes you trigger it there and it kicks off there, and everything's locked together.
It's a lot.
I
mean, there's so many things that can go wrong.
I'm the technician in the band, so
yeah,
it's my job to make sure all that works.
Sometimes I do want to go back to the acoustic guitar just because there's only one thing that can go wrong.
Strings break.
Yeah.
Use 6 things.
6 things can go wrong.
Yeah, and any one of those things happen, and everything's gone to shit.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what string that breaks. Like,
Nope. The whole thing falls out of tune and you're done.
Definitely.
We have a lot of wires.
Yeah.
A lot of cables.
I've become very efficient with how everything's hooked up, though. So it's a system, so we can get set up in like less than 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
I'm trying to find ways to break away from what I'm doing for parts of each song and like perform, like actually interact, like dance around and and actually, emote, because I'm so busy playing all the things, but like it's a hard balance to strike.
Yeah.
You want to be able to engage with the audience, but you also want to be playing and not just listening to playing a backing track and just singing along. I don't want to do that either.
Yeah, we try and stay away from having a computer on stage.
Yeah, so we're really playing most of the stuff.
Yeah,
it's all live, but it's a juggling act for sure.
Yeah, and again, that's I think what sets you apart from what a lot of people would consider an electronic act, because you're playing stuff. You're not just.
I don't want to disparage people who use backing tracks.
No.
I mean, there's if the value to your act is the person performing and singing, then you need a way to do that. So, I mean,
yeah, we know artists that like they're very engaging as a singer, and like they couldn't do what they were doing if they were playing everything live.
Right.
They could bring in a whole band, but it gets expensive to tour that way.
I used to do. I've got the pedal around here because I used to play acoustically, but I did with some gadgets, and I had this thing called the Beat Buddy.
Oh yeah, those are cool.
Yeah, you could program MIDI bass lines and string arrangements and drums, and you could trigger it all just with a foot. It's like you press it once and it'll do a little drum fill. You press it and hold it, and it'll go from part 1 to part 2 to part 3.
Oh, so you do have a solo act?
I did 10 years ago. Well,
Okay.
not quite 10 years ago, but it was really fun to do, and that was only one pedal, and I used to fuck it up all the time. So I'm like, I can't even imagine having all that stuff. Like,
yeah, I mean, I still do live looping now and then with the solo thing that I do, and I just have learned that when I fuck up, that like I will essentially, I either play into the fuck up.
Yeah,
there you go. Because nobody's gonna know.
No, sometimes I'm like, okay, I made that mistake. I better make that mistake again.
It's art.
Yeah,
that's right.
And that's Sync Charmer, right?
Yeah. I'm also in another thing, but
a lot of other things,
which I'll talk to you about after.
Okay.
Cave and Bloom, but we're heavier rock.
Oh, I've definitely heard of Cave and Bloom.
Yeah.
Cool.
Not super active, but we're active. Just finished a record.
It's very good.
Nice. I'll check it out. Maybe I'll review it.
Well, it'll be a while before it's out.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'll still be reviewing.
Yes.
Maybe I'll even be good at it by the time it
You're
comes
good.
out.
You are good at it.
Well, thank you, but it's fun to do. But I never thought I would write.
It's great that the Metroland is doing all this. It's just packed.
Yeah.
With stuff.
Yeah, and the team is constantly growing, and there's always different angles coming in, because every time we get a new team member, it's like, oh, well, I'd like to cover the hip hop scene a little more, or I'd like to cover the art
really
scene
great.
a little more.
I love how
and
broad it is.
Aaron's just like, yeah, fucking go with it,
I love that it's like so music centric. I mean, I know old Metroland was too, but it gives it more of a focus. I think.
And I mean, you know, certainly like the arts, and we're trying to get like more film, you know, because
Sure.
there's a huge local filmmaker scene, so we're trying to tap into that. But I think what ties like everybody at the Metroland together is music.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So it's probably always going to be a very music centric thing. Like,
Yeah, as it should. It's,
although I like the film.
Oh yeah.
Film is-
And there's amazing stuff happening
Yeah,
around here.
and I didn't realize that until very recently.
I didn't
like
know either.
you know, talking to Corey Dempsey at Metroland, he does a lot of stuff with film, and he's like talking about all these like you know great films, and I'm like, I had no idea that there was a.
Didn't they just win an Oscar? People who came out of Glens Falls. That was.
I don't know if it was either one or were nominated, but yeah, I had heard something
Yeah.
like that. A filmmaker out of
I should
Glens
know more,
Falls.
but I can't remember right now.
Yeah, but it's really cool, and like a lot of indie shit happening,
Yeah.
definitely.
which is great. Yeah. So I think we should play another song, unless there's anything you want to add about the album.
No, that's definitely we should play a song.
Give some context to this one.
Yeah, there's the song called Varel on the album. I wrote that one about my great aunt, my dad's aunt. My dad wrote an autobiography a couple years ago, and when I was scrambling to find lyrics for an instrumental I had already written, I needed a seed, you know, and I was flipping through the biography and the autobiography, and he had written some really interesting stuff about his aunt, who was this woman who was a real loner but social. Like, she had a very interesting life and a very interesting character, and she used to just like show up on his doorstep and be like, let's go driving, and when he was in college, I guess. And they would just drive around the Midwest and go to like St. Louis or Chicago, and she knew everybody everywhere, and was just this sort of well-loved kind of character around the Midwest, I guess. She just had some interesting details about her life that I put into the song. And yeah, I think that's a good one to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called Varel?
Varel, that was her name. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Awesome. All right. Well, let's check out Varel, Architrave, and then we'll be right back to wrap it up.
Like every child, she was infinite inside. When she was grown, she chose to be alone. Her Studebaker cruised across the plains, and in her bag was half a dozen diamond rings.
right, that was Varel, Architrave, and Jen and Paul. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come out here and do this with me. It's always cool to talk to you. And before we go, I want to give you the chance to say what I refer to as your gratitudes.
Well, first of all, thank you.
Yes, thank you
You're
for
welcome.
having us back.
Well,
I guess thank you to Super Dark Collective and No Fun and all the places we get to showcase this stuff.
yep.
We're really grateful to have such an awesome scene here that's supportive of this kind of music. Let's see, Hellseeker Club.
Yep. Yeah, we just played one of those. So,
Our kids.
yeah, our kids. And we should mention that we are, speaking of Super Dark Collective, for anybody who's familiar with Gary Zaroli, his whole catalog is out there on Bandcamp now. Shane from Super Dark put it up, and he passed away last March. He was from cancer. Fuck cancer. But finally, a tribute show is happening to him on the 30th of June at DA's. So it'll probably be kind of a loose night, like people showing up with guitars and just singing. It's kind of free form. But one of Gary's old bands, we're actually going to be performing with what's left of with Thinner Friends, essentially, which was Gary, Sarah Darby, and Shane and Rachel. So we're going to do our level best to fill in for Gary and Sarah. So
Yeah, definitely come out to that one. We can all share together about our memories of Gary.
And plus Gary was a fantastic photographer. So I guess some of his photography books are going to be there. His sister's coming and probably going to be giving those away, what he had left in his stock. So
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that night.
but yeah, I think that's gratitudes.
All right. So they are Architrave. I am Andy Scullin. This is Unsigned518. I'll see you on the road. Unsigned518 is produced and hosted by me, Andy Scullin. New episodes are available every week wherever you stream podcasts. If you'd like to help support the show, please like and subscribe wherever you are listening. Or you could buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/unsigned518. If you would like to advertise on the show, send me an email at unsigned518@gmail.com. And to be a guest on the show, reach out to me through Instagram at unsigned518. Take care of one another, and I'll see you next week.